I presume I shall not be the only reader of N and Q who is startled by the news that King James I was small, swarthy, and of disagreeable figure. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about King James. Yes, the man who authored the 1611 translation of the Bible, guys. Yes, the King James Version Bible. Very important stuff. Okay, there are a lot of people who have said online that King James is a black man, but I don't think enough people have like solid proof of this. Okay, and guess what, guys? I enjoy doing a lot of studying to find the truth, and I believe I have done just that about King James I. Okay, the man who authorized the translation of the Bible into the 1611 King James Version Bible. Okay, so before I show you guys the books, let's see what Google said. Okay, so I asked Google which King James authorized the translation of the Bible, and look at what he says. Look at what Google says. King James I of England authorized the King James Version, okay, the KJV of the Bible in 1604, and then the KJV was published in 1611, guys. Okay, very important. Although King James was the first Scottish king of England, he was actually the sixth King James of Scotland, guys. It's very important. You might see some strange information, like they'll tell you that, oh, it's King James the sixth and the first. You need to understand that it's talking about Scotland and England. Okay, yes, he was the sixth King James of Scotland, but he was the first King James of England, guys. Okay, so it's very important to keep that in mind. Okay, King James I want you to remember this because we're going to see it in several of the books that I'm going to show you guys in this video. Okay, so let us get started with this one. All right, guys, here we are on this book. It's called Notes and Queries, a medium of intercommunication for literary men, general readers, and etc. Okay, so this book was published in London in the year 1869, guys. 100 years before the moon landing, guys. Okay, if that stuff even happened at all. Let's see what this book gives us. So here we are on page 202 of this book. We're going to read this section. We're going to see very important information right here about King James and his family. Okay, so remember, King James was a member of the Stuart dynasty of kings. Okay, the Stuarts were a dynasty of Scottish kings. He became the king of England as well. Okay, but let's see what this says right here about the house of Stuart. Whenever you hear Stuart like this, it's talking about King James' familiar dynasty, guys. Yeah, look at what it says. The house of Stuart and David Rizzo. Okay, so it says something here. Look at what it says. Will JWH look again at Darnay's pedigree and see whether he was so entirely without taint of sudden blood, and if he were, was the queen. Now look at it right here, guys. This is the actual point. I presume I shall not be the only reader of N and Q who is startled by the news that King James I was small, swarthy, and of disagreeable figure. Very important point. Now, if you guys don't know what swarthy is, here is the definition from the 1828 Dictionary of the English Language. American Dictionary of the English Language. This book was published in the year 1828. We are in the word swarthy. I want you to see what it says. It says swarthy, being of a dark hue or dusky complexion. Tawny. In warm climates, the complexion of men is universally swarthy or black. So when you hear the word swarthy, you are saying black. Okay, a black person is swarthy. Okay, so here is the second definition of the word swarthy. Here it is. Number two, what is it? Black, as the swarthy African. So Africans are swarthy people. Okay, the word swarthy means black. Very important that you understand this definition. Okay, there you have it, guys. Swarthy means what? Black as an African. That is the point right here. I want to show you guys another record of history that talks about this, and then I'll show you guys one last one that basically confirms that the Stuart line of kings were a race of black people. All right, guys, here we are on this book. It's called A New and Full Critical, Biographical and Geographical History of Scotland. Yes, remember, the Stuarts, of whom King James I was a descendant of, were a line of Scottish kings who eventually took over England, guys. Very powerful stuff. Okay, containing the history of the succession of the kings from Robert Bruce to the present times. Okay, let me just jump to the bottom so we can see when it was published. It was published in London when this right here, guys. Let me zoom in so we can all see it. This right here is 1749. Damn! The United States was founded in July 4th, 1776. This book is older than the United States of America. Very old record. Okay, so let's see what it tells us about King James I. Okay, so here we are. Before we read this page, I want you to understand that this King James that we're talking about right here is not the same King James who published the Bible in 1611. No, this is one of his ancestors. Okay, this fellow right here is also one of the kings, one of the Stuart kings of Scotland. Yes, okay, he's an ancestor of King James I of England. But this one right here is King James I of Scotland. Okay, so although he's the first King James of Scotland, the King James who published the 1611 King James Version Bible was King James VI of Scotland, who became the first King James of England. I know it's a bit confusing, but it's actually not that confusing when you really think about it. Okay, so it's very important to keep that in mind. Okay, this King James right here is not the one who published the Bible. This is an ancestor. Let's see how he's described in this book. Okay, so here we are, guys. We're going to read this section right here. Can you guys see it? Let's begin. It says, this decisive action happened on the festival of Saint Barnabas, the 11th of June in 1488. His Majesty King James was killed in the 35th year of his age and 29th of his reign. He left behind his 3 sons, okay, James Prince, successor, Alexander, Primate of Scotland, and John, Jarl of Mar, the Lord of the Confederacy, in show of some atonement, relenting of spirit for the many wrongs they had done His Majesty, and at length murdering him, performed his funeral. I can't see this word right here, obscuring or something, I can't see it very well, okay, with uncommon splendor and the most magnificent pomp. Okay, the funeral of this King James was, very fantastic, I guess. His body was carried to the Abbey Church of I can't pronounce this, and there deposited in the same vault with his queen. Now look at this, guys. Look at how King James is described right here. King James was of more than common stature, well proportioned and stately in his person, and of a swarthy complexion. I've already explained to you guys what swarthy means. Now I'm going to show you guys what complexion means. American Dictionary of the English Language. This book was published in the year 1828. This is volume 1, okay? I want us to see the definition of the word complexion in this book, okay? You can see complexion right here. Complexion means what? The color of the skin, particularly of the face, the color of the external part of the body or thing. Basically, when it comes to the human body or the body of any object, it has to do with the color of that thing. Okay? There you have it, guys. Complexion means what? The color of the skin. Okay, and swarthy means black. Black as an African, so black colored skin. That's what we are reading right here. Okay, so this King James had a black colored skin. This is a black man we're reading right here. Okay, very powerful stuff. Let me show you guys one book. Okay, very powerful book. Okay, so here is the book, guys. It's actually a medical journal apparently. Okay, it's called Indigestion and Biliousness. Okay, and this was actually published in the year 1881. Very old stuff, guys, very old, but there is very important information in this book about King James and his family line, guys, the Stuarts. Remember, but let us see what this book here, Indigestion and Biliousness, let's see what it has to do with King James, guys. Very powerful. All right, so here we are on this page, guys. We are on page, let me make sure it's working. We are on page 50 of this book. Okay, we're gonna start from this portion right here. Biliousness or indigestion right here is going into nausea. Okay, for those of you who are sick, every now and then you might be nauseous, you might start vomiting. That's what this is going into. Okay, but let's see what it says. Very important stuff. Look right here. It says biliousness proper is a form of haptic disturbance found in persons naturally bilious. Okay, bilious means to vomit, guys. That's what it's going into. Such persons, look at what it says. Okay, remember this is from the 1800s. Such persons are ordinarily dark, often swarthy. He's talking about dark skinned people, guys, but by no means necessarily so. The typical bilious individual is dark with black hair. The skin is thick, wanting in transparency. When you say something is wanting, it means lacking. Okay, if I say you are found wanting, it means you lack in something. Okay, wanting in transparency. Why? Because these people, these dark-skinned people, have melanin. Melanin prevents the blood within our skin from being seen on the outside, guys. Yeah, okay, that's what it means. Okay, our skin is dark, lacking, look at it here, lacking in transparency, even if not actually muddy. Muddy is a brown. If you've seen mud, you know what color mud is. That's kind of what it's talking about, dark-skinned people of this complexion. Okay, so let's keep going. There is a large development of pigment. That's what he's talking about, melanin, guys. Okay, that's the point I'm telling you. The dark skin not uncommonly presents a number of freckles on the face. The hands are dark and never white. Indeed, the hue is that of the lighter colored of the dark races. Talking about dark races of people, keep that in mind. Okay, their bowels are rarely regular. Commonly, they are constipated, ordinarily with diarrhea when the bilous attack is passing away. They commonly have headaches, and usually their temper is irritable. They are not, as a rule, a lively people. Rather, they are gloomy or morose. Now listen to this. This is the point here. The dark, swarthy Stuarts. Remember, the Stuarts are a line of Scottish kings whom King James I descends from, guys. Look at what it says. The dark, swarthy Stuarts were a bilous people, meaning they were nauseous. Okay, after approaching the Duke of Grafton on his descent from Charles II, Genius says there are some hereditary strokes of character by which a family may be as clearly distinguished as by the what? The blackest features of the human face. What is that telling you? That these dark, swarthy swords, they were what? They had the blackest feature of the human face, guys. Okay, these were black people. Okay, very powerful stuff. This whole passage is a medical journal, but it goes into the Stuarts, guys. Okay, and it talks about them and it describes them as having what? The blackest features of the human face, telling you that their face wasn't pale or fair like many of these images depicting the Stuarts and King James. No. These were black people who had the blackest features of the human face, guys. Okay, they were swarthy, they were dark people, guys. Very important stuff. Okay, so there are clues to how all these people look like historically, guys. Okay, but we have to read so that we can show people. Very powerful stuff. Bilousness is a form of haptic disturbance found in persons naturally bilous. Such persons are ordinarily dark, often swarthy, dark-skinned people. Okay, but by no means necessarily so. This typical bilous individual, the typical ones, the common bilous individual, is dark with black hair. The skin is thick, lacking, when he says wanting here, it means lacking in transparency. Even if not muddy, like, you know, the color of mud, guys, which is brown, melanated color of the Negro, guys. Okay, it's telling you right here that Charles II, King James, the swarthy Stuarts, these were dark-skinned people. Okay, very powerful stuff. Okay, with swarthy skins. Okay, let me know what you guys think about everything I've showed you in this video. Do you agree that King James I, the man who authored the King James version of the Bible, or the 1611 King James Bible, and his family, his bloodline, the Scottish line of kings, do you believe, like these books suggest, that they were swarthy black people, guys? Okay, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe button. Please consider making a donation to this channel. Please support us on PayPal. I will put the link on the screen. Of course, you can also support this channel in other ways too. You can join our Patreon, or with anything you guys donate to us. I'm going to use to find more books like this and make more videos revealing the truth of the Negro's history. Yes, guys, King James I and the Stuart line of kings were Negroes. Very powerful stuff. Okay, so I will see you guys on the next video.